like the first time my wife voted here, they asked you R or D, and she said D, and they're like, "Huh? D? She's a D."
We
And
got one.
yeah,
Thanks so much for joining me, y'all, and for joining the Choose Your Fighter series. For those who are unfamiliar, this is a series every week where I highlight people who are trying to flip local and state level seats from red to blue. So why don't y'all, I haven't had one with two people at once, so this is fun.
I know.
So introduce yourselves and what you are running for and where.
I'm Carly Abbott. I'm running for Township Supervisor in East Hempfield Township, which is right outside of Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
my name's Darren Landis. I'm running for the first time for any kind of public office to hopefully flip our board from red to blue. Right now, there are 5 seats and one Democrat. So if both Carly and I are elected, we'll flip it 3-2.
For the first time ever.
Ever.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But actually, Bob Johnson, who is on the board now, he won a couple years ago, and he's the first ever Democrat on the board.
It's amazing. Okay, can you tell me, so like everybody's cities or counties or towns are set up a little differently. Some people have like, I don't know, township
Mhm.
boards or city councils. What is the structure of the seats that you're running for? And like what does your township do? Like what does that mean?
So Pennsylvania, like Virginia, is a commonwealth. I imagine it functions fairly similarly. We are a class 2 township in Pennsylvania. So there are 67 counties in Pennsylvania, broken down into multiple municipalities, cities, multiple townships, whatever. So our township is just one of many in the county, let alone the state. There are 5 supervisors for East Hempfield Township. They're all elected for 6-year terms.
So the supervisor board really sets policy and enacts a lot of local ordinances, and they adopt the budget and control the taxes from the township. The main burden of taxes in this township is the school tax, which the school board controls, but there is some township tax that the board of supervisors dictates.
Okay, so is this your first time running as well?
Yes.
Okay, all right, two first timers. So what is that like? Like, what is the process? You wake up one day and you're like, you know what? I'm running for the board, and then you do what? Like, who do you call? What do you do?
There was a large sort of event that happened about less than a year ago, which we can get into later. But there was a very contentious meeting that I attended, and it got a lot of people upset. Um, and it's about library funding,
Oh,
unfortunately. Yeah.
oddly controversial.
Yes, it got really heated here. So I attended that meeting. And I sat through that meeting feeling like we had to be able to do better than some of the people up there. And the next day, I emailed our local Dems, which are the Hempfield Area Democratic Committee, and just said, "What can we do? What can we do?" And they said, "Well, you can run." Um,
Oh,
and when I didn't back off right away, I think they got very excited. So they're a really supportive group, and um, they sort of led me through the process of deciding. And Darren, I think, was also inspired by them, maybe.
I happened to meet Bob, who's the current Democrat on our board, at my polling place in November during the elections. And we got talking, and I had been feeling the need to do something more than rage post on social media.
sure.
And yeah, I had been thinking about running just because with a 4 and a 2-year-old, if I were to be elected, I could bake it into the family schedule now instead of trying to weave it in a couple years down the road when we're even busier than we already are. So he was like, "Hey, we have one." Turns out it was Carly, who is I on the fence, but I think I'm going to swing her. And we need a
They
second
did.
because there are two seats, and I think you should be the other person. So it was from there. It was pretty straightforward. In our area, it's traditionally very red. So there was a fight in the primaries for the Republican side, but Carly and I are the only two that I'm aware of that raised our hand to run on the Democrat slate. So for me, it was just as easy as saying yes, and then everyone was excited, and we went from there.
I love that. I love the like the vibe this year of like no seat unchallenged. We're not doing that
Yes.
anymore.
That
That's
really seems like what they were going for.
yeah.
And I had concerns, like if we're talking about the whole decision process as someone who's never run for something before, I'm a parent as well, and I had a whole, existential crisis about opening my children up to being. It's funny to call ourselves public figures because this is a small race, but we have opened ourselves up to the public.
Yep.
So that took me months actually to work through in my own head.
Totally valid. I mean, you hear
Yeah.
horror stories. I don't know how common they are. I mean, that's why they're news, right? Because they're not the norm, but it's still
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
Yeah, and it really is stepping outside of a comfort zone. So
Yeah.
here we are.
So people pay like a ton of attention. We spend billions with a B last cycle of dollars on national elections. But in my view, these elections, state and local and municipal elections, are much more important. Like they affect your daily life a lot more than what's going on at the federal level generally. I mean, that's a generalization, but for the most part. So why does this election matter so much for your township?
The board handles a lot of very dry but very important things that affect everybody's lives: traffic, roads, water management, zoning. That is all really important, and that affects us walking out our doors and experiencing our community. Um, this board in the last year or so has really brought in, I think they have stepped into an area that they don't need to, or nor should they. The first being, there was we have a library system with a main branch downtown in Lancaster, and then it branches off to a lot of different branches in the suburbs of Lancaster. So the main branch downtown last year decided to have a drag queen story hour or story time with the kids. One of our county commissioners, a Republican, blew it up into a major issue. And it ended up actually being canceled due to bomb threats and a suspicious package. Um, so it never happened. It was a big to do. And then our board of supervisors decided to debate whether they felt comfortable funding our branch of the library anymore after they dared to try to host this story time. A voluntary story time to bring your children to or not to.
Yeah.
And so that meeting that I attended was debating whether or not they would fund the local Mountville Public Library, which would not have programming like that anytime in the near future. They did. They pulled the funding. It got everyone here very upset. At the meeting, I believe there were maybe two people who spoke in favor for pulling the funding, and most of it was the community that came out in outcry about it. Since then, they have also drafted a non-sanctuary resolution, and basically all that did was restate the law and upset a lot of people. That is why I think we need two people in there who will make responsible and reasonable decisions. And our goal, one of our main goals, is to return the focus back to local issues and not grandstand in our municipal building.
Yeah, multiple reasons. One is that the supervisors do, as part of controlling the budget, oversee our police force. East Hempfield Township has its own police force. There's already at least one department in the county that signed up, raised their hands to be part of the ICE thing that Trump wants to do, deputizing local officials to act as ICE agents. So I think if we were elected, obviously we would be able to have a hand in steering our police force clear of any entanglements with ICE, which is, yeah, just not necessary. Like Carly said, bringing our focus back to local municipal concerns is important. I think what everyone wants right now is strong leadership that brings empathy back to the process. I think one of the most important things we can do is sort of reset the standard for what people expect out of public figures. And if we can shift that focus and people, because right now most people I talk to are like, politicians, they're all the same, and it's a very derogatory, connotation. I think if we can shift the goalposts to the point where people expect an empathetic human being that they can connect with and who cares about something that actually matters to them and their neighbors, I think they can then shift that to our national leaders who, yes, local elections are very important, but when you can dangle millions of dollars in federal funding over the heads of your local school or township or county, that that says something.
So you're running in a red district. What is campaigning like? Like, what is campaigning like when you are trying to flip a seat in a place that bans drag queen story hours? Like, do you feel nervous, or is there any weirdness about door knocking, or like what is that like for you?
I have not door knocked alone yet, although a lot of people do. But I do like to have a buddy. I have not knocked on an unfriendly door yet, though, actually. And when I have knocked on people who are definitely not going to vote for me, really the vibe has been, sorry, I vote the other way.
Hmm.
Bye. And I say bye and get out of there. But we feel pretty strongly that we're in a good position. Josh Shapiro won here. That's our governor, Democratic governor. Kamala actually won in East Hempfield. And Bob won his seat last time he ran. So we do have more registered Republicans than we do Democrats, but I think we're feeling very confident in our position. So it's been actually pretty engaging to go out and talk to people so far.
Yeah, I would echo that. I haven't had a purely negative experience yet. And I mean, you might have heard of the special election that made national news. James Malone won in a Pennsylvania state Senate race. And I think part of that is a reflection of wider politics, but it also reflects the person he was running against is extremely unpopular for his very conservative
He's
viewpoint.
actually the county commissioner that got the library thing going.
Yes.
So, yeah. And James Andrew Millen ran here. We were all part of that. So
Right. So we're part of Malone's district. And I think it just speaks to, again, the empathy and relatability piece. MAGA leaders send out these strong sort of male bro vibes that people can, when it's removed from them, people can like latch onto. But when it's personal for you, no one likes a, a mean person.
Yeah.
I think we can, like when we are knocking on your door, people see us and treat us like humans for the most part. I mean,
mhm.
Yeah. Well, so you touched on a point about steering the police away from engaging with ICE, for example. Are there any other ways that you think this election matters in terms of like protecting your community from the Trump administration's policies? Is there anything else that you want to touch on?
I also just think that as things roll down the pike, because who knows what Trump sends down the pike given any day, having people there that you trust to listen and make empathetic and responsible choices is going to be hugely important.
So the people who are watching, obviously my audience is national. So people who are not in your district and folks who are, how can they support your race as we get closer to election day?
For local people, I think volunteering to door knock is amazing. We have other people who might want to fill out postcards if they don't feel comfortable actually speaking to people face to face. For anyone watching that's not here, any donation would be amazing. I think as first-time politicians, we're learning that some of this is expensive. I did not know how much a yard sign costs. They're quite pricey. So I mean, any small, we've had two wonderful big donations, big for us. And otherwise, we're getting small sort of grassroots donations, and that's what's going to keep us going. So any dollar that anyone can spare would be really helpful.
yeah,
But
I,
if
I
other,
would I would echo that. I mean, before the primary, the Republican yard signs blanketed East
Mm.
Hempfield Township.
Mhm.
We can already see that they have more cash than we do. And that matters in the end because people vote for people, especially in local elections. And uh, if we don't have the time or the money to get out and have us and other volunteers out knocking on doors, putting our name out there via signs or other literature, people just won't know about it. They won't go vote, and if they do, they'll just toe the party line. In our primary, we did have 30 ballots, Republican ballots, who wrote in our names. And I think, and there were zero from the Democrat side. I think there might be even more of that in the general election if people know that that's an option. But they won't know the option if it's not out on social media, if it's not out in people's yards, and if people aren't not showing up knocking on their door.
Yeah.
Um, I think the other thing to tag onto that, along with the money piece and the visibility piece, is just having a sense of community. If you see it, you hear it. I think, especially in our area, there are more Democrats than one would think or realize.
Mhm.
It's just this area has been red for so long. We don't feel like we have a community. And so tackling that issue, I think, would engage more of the electorate to get out and vote if they feel that there's a community that supports them. Like the first time my wife voted here, they asked you R or D, and she said D, and they're like, "Huh? D? D? She's a D."
We
And
got one.
yeah, yeah, and that's very marginalizing,
Mhm.
to say the least. And so, yeah, one thing that people who are watching can do if you're not local is just share, reshare, like, subscribe, everything to build that sense of community. And Amanda, what you're doing is so important in that regard. People realize that there are others out there who think and feel the same thing.
Yeah, totally.
Our local, the HADC, which is the Hempfield area Dems, has grown so much this year. And I'm fairly new as of like a year and a half ago. I'm told that it used to be a very small group and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And as people get more and more frustrated, the meetings get bigger and bigger, and that's exciting. And we have so many people running, which is really, really cool. We've got great school board people running. We've got West Hempfield has people running, and that's even more red over there. So I feel like there is a community growing, which is awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of momentum, I feel like,
Yeah.
especially for like grassroots Democratic committees in places that haven't gotten a lot of attention. I think that's starting to change. All right. Well, thank you so much to both of you and good luck in November.